The conversation about mental health has changed drastically over my career in law enforcement. It's come to light, especially in the last few years. It was kind of something that you knew that was going on, but we didn't talk about it.
The conversation around mental health has changed drastically since I first began. Before, nobody talked about mental health. Nobody, you were supposed to be the tough guy and the strong guy and just push it aside. And the willingness to open up and talk about it, I think, is progressing.
You know, I think back to my earliest days of college, and then even my early days as a law enforcement officer, the last thing on my mind was officer wellness. Officer well-being and mental health wasn't just, we didn't talk about it at all, to where we've come today, and so really a complete 180.
We work in an industry where we pride ourselves in serving citizens beyond expectations. Is actually in our mission statement. And that makes me wonder, when we don't take care of ourselves, how in the world we can serve people when we're not at our top.
No, I realized I was struggling after an incident that happened, and my sleep pattern drastically changed. I was having recurring nightmares of calls that I had in my past, like even at the beginning of my career, calls that been on, but the outcome in the nightmares was different than than what actually truly happened.
I was at a point where I was going to lose my family, and still I think even to this day, because of decisions made in that time period of my life, I still struggle with that quite a bit, but I knew I needed to change something. Something needed to change in me, something needed to change in how I was handling my stress.
We were at a family fun night. My sister's house, my whole family. You know, sometimes when you go to families' houses and stuff and you're in the law enforcement career, they like stories. There was a shooting when I was on the SWAT team in 2007. During that, a person was shot and killed, and I was telling it exactly as I remembered it, how it happened, what the person was doing, what we were doing. And in the middle of that story, out of nowhere, I don't know where it came from, I just started sobbing. I just broke down. I was embarrassed in front of my whole family, and I remember saying, I'm sorry, and my family was like, you don't have to be sorry. Someone in my family said, why don't you go talk to somebody? That's kind of what started my journey in finding somebody to talk to.
I wasn't aware of anything at the time when he first came and told me. I reached out to a couple other police chiefs that were dealing with the same situation. I actually didn't like what they had to tell me. I reached out to the League of Minnesota Cities. I was provided their toolkit dealing with mental health issues. That kind of gave me a foundation. Went back to Officer Steer and I said, I'm here for you. What do you need? Let's get through this together. And using those tools that were provided by the League helped me start that foundation for what we needed to go forward.
The first guy I told was a good close friend of mine, and then the second one was my chief. He's my chief, but I also consider him a friend, and I have that comfort level. He's like, all right, what do we do? Basically, and I'll never forget, just put his hand on my back and says, we've got this. Just knowing that support was there, and that he encouraged me to take care of me. He would take care of the city, he would take care of the department, he would take care of my duties, however it needed to be done. But he was there to support me.
I think back to when I was struggling, and I was kind of at the worst spot in my career, in my life, and my sheriff brought me in and sat me down, and I knew I was there. And he didn't say, you committed this policy violation, you possibly committed this policy, nothing. He sat me down, and the first thing he said to me was, Brandon, I'm worried about you. He immediately made the meeting about how I was doing. And not only did it allow me a permission to feel like I could be vulnerable and honest, which is well, as officers especially, when you think about a spot where you may be in a disciplinary action, you just need to be honest about it. But he gave me permission to just be open about what was going on.
Felt supported, that pushed me to, okay, let's keep this up, let's get better, I'm not gonna be looked down upon or saw as somebody that's weak and can't do the job. Because that's another thing that crosses a guy's mind. It's like, okay, geez, if I let it out that maybe I'm struggling mentally, I'm not gonna be fit for my service, even though I know I am, but everyone else might view you as unfit, and that just sends you spiraling. It's like, well, if I don't have my job, I don't have my livelihood, now what? So if they feel supported like I did, you're gonna know you have a job to come back to once you get your help.
Wellness for the public safety community, to me, every one of our officers feels like they have permission to take care of themselves. If we don't start to address that at an earlier stage in a career and normalize getting some help earlier on, we're just going to continue to lose really, really good people.
Today, we have an established clinical consultant. We have a peer support team. One of the things that is a success is it's just the culture here. It's accepted. It's not run by the chief and it's not run by me. It is run by the people who have a passion for it out there. Ask the people that it's affecting. That's support right there.
We're in the early stages of developing a wellness program, not just for the police department, but for the city as a whole. We're all dealing with different things. We all see things that a lot of the general public wouldn't encounter because of our profession. Unfortunately, we all sometimes see people at their worst. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast with the position, that the roles that we take, especially when you're serving a community.
The other officers told them what was going on. They're like, hey, we're here for you too. City staff, they're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do? How do we help you? That support that I felt really helped push me along too. I knew that I had backing and that I wasn't alone.
I hope for my officers, they know that they're not expected to be perfect. Doing stuff like this, having this interview and being just vulnerable to my people, to know that I've been through what they've been through too, and I know it's gonna affect them and I know it's gonna change them, and giving them permission to get help. So I think creating that culture within the walls of this police department, hopefully that spreads too. You always hope that as we continue to move forward and go down this path of trying to be better about taking care of our officers, that all of us as chiefs and sheriffs are trying to create that culture within our own walls, then that spreads throughout the profession, especially statewide.
As long as you support an employee and listen to them and work with the mental health professionals that are there, you can have that person back on the job and they don't have to go into an early retirement.